walk into a room and your cat dramatically stands up and walks out. Or perhaps you reach out to give them a stroke and all you get is a contemptuous ear twitch in return. Sound familiar? We absolutely love our furry little tyrants, but sometimes that nagging thought pops up. What if the love isn't exactly mutual? What if beneath all the purring and cute looks is a subtle, quiet dislike? Today, we're going to uncover 5 subtle, less obvious signs that your cat might secretly hold a grudge. And I promise, some of these signals will change the way you look at your pet forever. Make sure you watch until the very end, because the final sign is the most devious one, and it's often mistaken for affection. Wouldn't you agree that cats are absolute masters at hiding their true feelings? Let's dive in. Before we start our deep dive, it's important to understand one thing. Cat hatred is not the same as human hatred. They aren't plotting elaborate revenge or holding grudges for years. When we use the term hatred, we're really referring to an extreme level of discomfort, fear, distrust, or stress that the animal specifically associates with your presence. Their world is much simpler. There's safe and there's unsafe. If, for whatever reason, you land in that unsafe category, your cat will display behaviours that we humans instinctively read as antipathy or dislike. Our goal here is not to feel offended, but to understand the root cause. Perhaps you are unconsciously violating their boundaries, creating a stressful environment, or just misinterpreting their basic needs. Think of this video not as a death sentence for your relationship, but rather as a diagnostic tool designed to help you pinpoint the issue and hopefully find a path toward reconciliation. So, the first and most obvious sign, one that is often completely ignored, is consistent avoidance. We're not talking about your cat occasionally wanting to be alone. That's totally normal. We're talking about systematic behaviour here. You sit down on the couch, she immediately jumps off. You walk into the kitchen, she bolts out into the hallway like a shot. If your entry into a room serves as a signal for your cat to make an immediate evacuation, that is a serious cause for concern. This isn't just shyness or an introverted nature. This is an active unwillingness to share space with you. Your cat is essentially voting with its paws, signalling that your presence causes her stress. She isn't seeking solitude, she is seeking an escape from you. This is the fundamental signal that underlies all the other, more complex manifestations of dislike or distress. Let's dive deeper into the nuances of avoidance. Pay close attention to exactly where the cat is hiding. If that spot is under the bed, behind a closet, or in any other hard-to-reach corner, and she only emerges when you're out of the house or asleep, that's a bad sign. This suggests she only feels safe in places where you cannot easily reach her. Contrast this with a cat who simply loves to sleep in a cardboard box right in the middle of the room. The former indicates fear and distrust. The latter is just standard feline behaviour. Another crucial indicator is how she reacts to your voice. If you call your cat by name and she not only fails to come, but doesn't even twitch an ear, or perhaps retreats even deeper into her hiding spot, she isn't ignoring you out of spite. It's because your voice is associated with something unpleasant in her mind. Here's a perfect illustration. Picture this. You get home exhausted after a long day at work, and all you want to do is snuggle your fluffy friend. You spot them peacefully asleep on the armchair. But the moment you take a step in their direction, they bolt off the chair and instantly vanish under the sofa. This happens day in, day out. This isn't a game of hide and seek. This is a clearly established behavioural pattern where you are the stimulus, and fleeing is the reaction. Or consider a different scenario. There are multiple people living in your house, but the cat specifically avoids only you. It happily curls up on your partner's lap, yet seems to instantly vanish the moment you walk into the room. That's no longer general fear of humans. That is personalised antipathy. Ignoring these signals means you are actively exacerbating the problem and destroying even the fragile chance of trust you might have been able to build. What actually lies behind this behaviour? 99% of the time, it's fear. Perhaps the cat had a negative experience in the past with someone who reminds them of you. Or more likely, you yourself, without meaning to, have become the primary source of stress. Maybe you are too loud, make sudden movements, or try to force physical interaction when the cat clearly isn't interested. Cats are creatures of habit and control. When they feel they've lost control of a situation and you are the cause of that loss, they choose the path of least resistance. They distance themselves. Essentially, by hiding from you, the cat is trying to regain its sense of safety and security. In their own language, they are telling you, "You are unpredictable and potentially dangerous, so I need to keep my distance." Understanding this is the crucial first step toward resolving the situation. Let's move on to the second sign, which is all about subtle cues, body language. Cats are constantly communicating with us, but we don't always know how to read their messages. Forget about the purring for a moment and focus on the three key indicators: the tail, the ears, and the eyes. These body parts reveal your cat's true attitude toward you, even when they seem perfectly still. If your cat is staring at you and their tail is twitching rapidly from side to side or hitting the floor aggressively, that is not a sign of happiness. It signals annoyance and internal conflict. They are essentially telling you, "I see you and I am not amused." This is a clear warning sign that often precedes more active behaviour, like hissing or a bite. To ignore this tail signal is the equivalent of teasing a bull with a red cape. Now let's dive deeper into what your cat's tail is telling you. A tail held high, straight up like a flagpole with a slight curve at the tip, is a clear sign of a friendly greeting. On the flip side, a tail lowered toward the floor, or even tucked tightly between the legs, screams uncertainty and fear. If the tail puffs up completely like a bottle brush, that's the ultimate indicator of extreme fear or aggression. The cat is trying to look bigger and scarier to deter a threat, which in this scenario happens to be you. Another key signal is sharp, powerful tail thumping. If your cat is lying down and her tail is forcefully beating the floor, it's a definite sign that her patience is wearing thin. If you try to pet her at that moment, you're almost certainly going to get swiped or bitten. This isn't sudden aggression. It's the warning signal you failed to notice. Next, let's talk about the ears and eyes. When a cat pins its ears back flat against its head and slightly out, what we commonly call airplane ears, that is a classic, unmistakable sign of aggression and irritation. The cat is instinctively protecting its delicate hearing mechanism from a potential strike. If you see this posture directed at you, immediately stop whatever you are doing and give your feline friend plenty of space. The eyes are a bit more complex. The common wisdom is that the slow blink is the ultimate kitty kiss and a profound sign of trust, and that is absolutely true. The opposite, however, is a direct, unwavering, unblinking stare, often accompanied by constricted pupils. This is a clear challenge and a threat. In the predator world, the one who looks away first loses. If your cat is constantly engaging you in these intense stare downs, she isn't admiring you. She is actively trying to dominate you and establish who is truly in charge. Let's bust a common myth about cats. A lot of people assume that if a cat has fully dilated pupils, it means they're in a playful mood. That's only partially true. Pupils dilate when a cat is highly aroused or excited, but that excitement isn't always positive. It could signal play, but it could also signal aggression or intense fear. The key factor here is context. If the cat assumes a distinct playful posture, crouching low, maybe performing that characteristic wiggle butt, then they absolutely want to play. But if they are tense, their fur is standing on end, their ears are pinned back, and those huge eyes remain wide, that's pure fear-driven adrenaline. They are ready to either flee or fight. If you see this look directed at you while you're just sitting calmly on the sofa, the cat perceives you as a source of serious threat. This combination of signals, the intense stare, pinned ears, and a fast, agitated tail flick, is an unmistakable message. Back off now, or I will make you regret it. The third major category of signs relates to vocalization, and here we find both the obvious and the completely unexpected aspects. Let's start with the basics. If your cat regularly hisses at you, growls, or emits guttural howling sounds, well, that speaks for itself. This is a direct and unmistakable threat. Hissing is actually an imitation of a snake sound, an instinctive tactic designed to ward off an enemy without resorting to a physical fight. Growling, however, is the next stage, a clear warning that the cat is ready to attack. It's crucial to understand that a cat doesn't just hiss out of general bad temper or annoyance. It is always a direct reaction to a perceived threat. If you are constantly perceived as that threat, just by walking past or attempting to touch her, it means the bond of trust has been severely broken. Let's dive deeper into the meaning behind these sounds. Hissing and growling are purely defensive mechanisms. The cat genuinely doesn't want a confrontation. A fight risks injury, and in the wild, an injury can be a death sentence. That's why your cat deploys an entire arsenal of warning signals, all to avoid physical contact. By making these sounds, the message is clear. You've crossed my boundaries, you're too close. Take one more step, and I will have no choice but to defend myself. If you ignore this warning and continue approaching, you are actively provoking the attack. And then you wonder why your cat suddenly became aggressive out of nowhere. She didn't become aggressive. She warned you repeatedly, but you weren't listening. It's exactly like running a red light and then being surprised when you crash. And now, perhaps the most counterintuitive sign in this whole category. It's silence. Yes, a complete absence of vocalizations directed at you can actually be the most alarming indicator. We often assume that purring is the ultimate sign of love and contentment. But what if your cat never purrs on your lap? What if she never greets you at the door with a welcoming chirp or a happy meow? What if she simply refuses to communicate with you vocally? Sure, some cats are naturally quiet creatures, but if your cat actively chats with other family members, yet only grants you an icy silence, that is a deliberate form of avoidance. She doesn't feel the need to waste her social signals on you. To her, you are merely a piece of moving furniture. The lack of positive vocalization can be just as loud a statement as an outright hiss or a snarl. So why exactly can silence be so dangerous? Because it points to a total lack of emotional connection. Aggression, believe it or not, is still an emotion. It's a response, a sign that they care enough to react. But indifference and outright ignoring, that's the unmistakable sign that your cat has completely cut you out of its social group. They don't see you as a source of comfort, food, or security. To them, you are simply invisible. This shift is particularly alarming if your cat used to be vocal and suddenly went silent, only when dealing with you. This withdrawal usually follows a stressful event she associates directly with you, say, an awful trip to the vet, or maybe you accidentally stepped on her tail. In her mind, you've gone from being a trusted friend to a source of negativity, and the easiest way for her to manage that stress is to simply shut down communication entirely. This is a highly passive form of displeasure, and unfortunately, it is incredibly easy to overlook. The fourth sign moves beyond mere warnings and involves direct action. We're talking about aggressive behaviours like biting and scratching. And here, it is absolutely crucial to learn how to differentiate between a cat being playful and actual aggression. Play bites or mouthing are usually gentle. The cat doesn't fully clench its jaw. It merely simulates the bite without causing any pain. Playful scratches usually involve tucked-in claws as well. This is a normal part of their hunting practice, and it's nothing to worry about. An aggressive bite, however, is a completely different story. It is quick, sharp, painful, and frequently draws blood. The cat puts real force behind the attack, and instead of sticking around to play afterward, it usually springs back immediately and takes a defensive position. If your cat is regularly rewarding you with these kinds of forceful attacks, you are dealing with genuine aggression, not just a bit of roughhousing. There's a specific kind of feline behaviour that frequently stumps even the most experienced cat owners. It's formally known as petting-induced aggression. Here's how the scenario usually plays out. Your cat approaches you, rubs against your legs, purrs loudly, and settles down, inviting a scratch. You start petting, everything seems fine, and then, out of nowhere, the cat whirls around and sinks its teeth into your arm. What just happened? It's important to understand this isn't some sort of betrayal. Cats simply have a very specific threshold for tactile stimulation. Once that limit is exceeded, What was pleasurable instantly becomes overwhelming and irritating. The core issue is that the cat provides plenty of warning signs, but we often miss them. These signals include tail twitching, ears flattening or pinning back, and the skin rippling across the back. We, distracted by the lovely purring, simply fail to register these warnings. When that happens, the cat resorts to the only available argument it has left, its teeth. It's essentially yelling, "Stop it!" just in cat language. Another common sign is what we call unprovoked attacks. You might just be walking down the hall and suddenly your cat, who was hiding in ambush around the corner, launches itself at your legs, claws and teeth, digging in. This is absolutely not a game. Often, this is a classic case of redirected aggression. For instance, your cat might have seen another feline outside the window. It gets worked up and frustrated because it can't reach its rival. As you walk by, you become the closest available target, and all that built-up rage is directed squarely at you. However, if this happens regularly, with no visible external trigger, it can mean your cat views you as a territorial intruder. They are actively patrolling their domain, and in their mind, you simply shouldn't be there. This is a serious issue. It signals that your cat does not feel secure and is aggressively trying to defend its claimed space from you. Boundary violations are almost always at the core of this kind of aggression. Cats are territorial animals with very clear concepts of personal space. When we ignore their warning signs and force our presence or affection upon them, we are causing them stress. This stress builds up just like water behind a dam, and at some point, that dam breaks. The resulting bite or scratch is not the start of the problem, it's the culmination. The issue started much earlier, when you failed to notice the twitching tail, the flattened ears, or the rigid body posture. By constantly lashing out, the cat is trying to teach you the rules of behaviour. She is essentially saying, "You cannot do that to me. You shouldn't come this close." It's a cruel, yet from her perspective, highly effective method of communication, especially once all other warning signs have been ignored. And finally, the fifth sign, the one that causes the most debate and often shocks owners, is litter box trouble. When your cat starts eliminating outside the box, especially on your personal items, your bed, your clothes, your shoes, the owner's immediate reaction is usually, "She's getting back at me." While this is a very human reaction, it is fundamentally incorrect. Cats simply do not operate on the concept of revenge. They are not acting out of spite. Eliminating outside the litter box is always either a medical issue or a behavioural one triggered by intense stress. So before you take offence at your pet, you must understand that this isn't an act of aggression. It's a desperate cry for help. Your cat doesn't hate you. She is in a great deal of distress. The first and most critical step when dealing with this problem is an immediate visit to the vet. You absolutely must rule out serious medical causes such as cystitis, UTIs, kidney stones, or other serious kidney problems. These ailments cause pain when your cat tries to pee, and she quickly begins to associate the litter box with that pain. As a result, she looks for a softer, more comfortable spot to relieve herself, and that spot is often your carpet or your favourite blanket. Scolding her for this behaviour is as unfair as yelling at someone with the flu because they can't stop coughing. Only once the vet confirms your cat is physically healthy should you even begin to investigate behavioural causes. Ignoring this crucial first step could cost your pet their health, or even their life. If the vet has ruled out medical issues, then the root cause of the problem is stress. At this point, you need to ask yourself, what has changed in the household? Did you introduce a new family member or a new pet? Have you moved furniture around or perhaps switched the type of litter you use? It's also possible the box itself is located somewhere noisy or high traffic, where your cat doesn't feel secure. Now for the critical question, why is she targeting your possessions specifically? Because those items smell most strongly of you. By spraying or marking over your scent, the cat is trying to overpower your smell with her own. This is a form of self-soothing, an attempt to mix her scent with the smell of the thing that is causing her anxiety, which in this case is yours. She is trying to create a unified, shared, group scent that feels safer. This isn't hatred. It's a desperate attempt to cope with the profound anxiety that you are inadvertently causing her. So, what does this mean? The cat that urinates on your pillow isn't actually trying to disrespect you. She is in absolute panic. She is desperately trying to communicate. I'm scared. Your smell is everywhere. It's completely overwhelming me, and I don't know what else to do. She surrounds herself with her own scent, just to feel marginally more secure in her territory she believes you have completely usurped. This is one of the hardest signals for us to decode because it entirely contradicts our human logic. But for a cat, this is an act of pure desperation. If you see this kind of behavior, know that your relationship with your pet has reached a critical turning point. This is no longer just simple defiance. It is a state of chronic stress that is actively eroding the animal's mental health. And the fault lies not with the cat, but rather with the situation that you may have unknowingly created. All right, let's wrap things up and summarize the key takeaways. Here are the 5 main signs that people often mistake for their cat hating them. She constantly avoids you and hides whenever you enter the room. Her body language screams threat, flattened ears, dilated eyes, and an aggressively twitching tail. She either greets you with a hiss or maintains complete, icy silence. She displays real, genuine aggression, not just playful swatting. And finally, she eliminates outside the litter box, especially on your personal belongings. But here is the critical twist, the main takeaway I hope you've grasped. None of these signs indicate hatred in the human sense of the word. Behind every single one of these behaviors is fear, stress, pain, or deep mistrust. Your cat isn't mean, they are unhappy or unwell. They aren't trying to punish you. They are simply trying to survive in a world that feels hostile to them. Realizing this is a complete game changer. The problem isn't the cat itself. The problem is usually rooted in the relationship dynamic between you two. The good news is that even the most strained relationships can be fixed with patience, respect for their boundaries, and unconditional love. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. If you found this video helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Now I have a question for you. What strange or revealing habits does your cat have? Have you noticed any of the signs we described today? Share your story in the comments below. Let's start a discussion.